All right, every week we welcome this guy to the studio. Some days it's on Wednesday, some days it's on Friday. You know you have a good friend when you call him and the answer is yes. He is one of the best opinion makers in our market. His name is Grossman. Burt Grossman. Burt, how you doing?
Perfect, perfect. You know what? I drove up here and I thought it was Friday and I felt good, and then I realized it was Wednesday, and I hate you right now, but that's cool.
All right, the news of the day, it broke at about 3:15 local time. Ohio State football coach Urban Meyer has been placed on administrative leave while the school investigates whether or not he was aware of a 2015 domestic assault allegation against one of his former assistants, a coach that he fired back in July. Until yesterday, I thought Urban Meyer was one of those coaches that was untouchable.
Squeaky clean.
Yeah, squeaky clean and untouchable. But then, I mean, I guess it's kind of like the Joe Paterno saga, where suddenly what you know and when you knew it is a big deal.
And the difference being, in the Paterno saga, there was no text messages, there was no emails, there weren't things like that. Now, you know, supposedly they have text messages to prove it. It goes all the way back to 2009 at Florida, and like we talked about earlier, the real value in the guy is he's the recruiting coordinator, and Florida always had the #1 recruiting class, and Ohio State always has the #1 recruiting class, so that was the value to cover it up.
The coach in question is a guy by the name of Zach Smith, and like you said, I could coach wide receivers at Ohio State. This guy was just an #1 recruiter, which would suggest maybe a coach seeing that the domestic squabbles, which date all the way back
to 2009.
Coach Troy Starr, who now coaches at Mount McGill, was on the same staff as this Zach Smith for Coach Meyer in Florida. We'll hear what he has to say later when we get our camera back from practice. But I mean, it was a troubled relationship to say the least. But Urban Meyer, I mean, do you have any doubt that he didn't know exactly what was going on in his kingdom?
I think he knew exactly what was going on. I think the university saw some of the evidence, and that's why they put him on administrative leave.
So is he done?
No, he's done, yeah. I don't recall anybody ever coming back from administrative leave and being put back into a team.
Urban Meyer is not going to coach Ohio State again, in your opinion?
I don't believe so, no. He's going to be at Next Chance U or one of those junior colleges maybe, but I don't know. Maybe he takes 2-3 years off and he resurfaces somewhere else, but he will not be at Ohio State again. But I said LeBron would be in Cleveland, so you don't have to ask me.
Yeah.
I mean, you know how I am.
I mean, we get what we pay for. All right, while the NCAA is considering relaxing their transfer rules as far as it relates to an athlete who wants to go to a different school, he doesn't lose a year of eligibility. Listen to what Rocky Long had to say about this yesterday, and then we'll get your reaction.
If they approve it the way it's been presented to me, all they're going to do is make a minor league system. I mean, and if you have a great player on your team, he's never going to make it to his senior year because he's going to be playing for somebody else. So I think it shouldn't happen, and I think it's a bad thing for college football.
I can see Coach Long's opinion is he develops a player who suddenly then wants to go play for a Power 5 conference. I can see where he's coming from, but then at the same time, players, coaches can move around at will. Why can't players?
I think players, and you see in high school all the time, it's an entitlement issue nowadays. You can't be behind somebody else. I mean, if you had this rule in effect, Rashad Penny would have left because he was behind Pumphrey and he would have thought he was better, yet they both turned out to be great. I don't like the rule. I do like the rule in the case of Olave at Ohio State. I'm sure he's not going to transfer now that Urban Meyer's gone because he went there for the whole Ohio State thing. But if a coach is fired or a scandal comes around, I think you should be allowed to change your choice. But other than that, no.
All right, in keeping with our Aztec coverage, Rick Willis has a one-on-one conversation with Christian Chapman, the quarterback at SDSU. Rocky Long is part of that story because he had this to say about his starting quarterback on the Mesa.
Because I don't think Christian Chapman gets the credit that he deserves. I mean, all he has to do is be the starting quarterback and win one more game, and he's going to be the winningest quarterback in the history of this school. I thought the criteria for being a great quarterback is how many games you win. It's not how many yards you throw for and all that kind of stuff. It's how many games you win. So there's an argument, as long as he wins one more game as the starting quarterback, there's an argument that he might be the best quarterback that ever played here, and not one person has ever said that but me.
Is Christian Chapman going to be the best quarterback in San Diego State history?
This always goes back to how you measure a quarterback. Do you measure him as Dan Marino, who never won the Super Bowl? Is he as good as a guy that might have went to the Super Bowl and didn't win? Physically, he's not the best quarterback, but he's absolutely right. I mean, the guy has done nothing but win. I mean, I remember going to see him the first time when they played Air Force in the conference championship a couple years ago, and he was just brilliant. But he's right. He doesn't get a lot of credit, and a lot of that's because he's had two great running backs that have literally dominated, and they take all the offensive credit. But again, this year will be a big year for him, and I think he's a great quarterback, to be honest with you.
All right, we can't have you here. You're a South Bay guy. Everyone's catching the green monster fever. What do you know? Is the region really excited about those Parkview Little Leaguers?
I think everybody's more talking about the East Lake complaint against Parkview now, about the kids not living within the boundaries, which is an interesting thing because I used to be the president of East Lake football, and we have a lot of crossover between parents. But when you get to a point where grown adults get together and they take association money to pay a private investigator to follow around 11, 12-year-olds, that's a little scary to me. I mean, I don't know who came up with that idea or who thought that was a good idea, but that's scary.
I mean, we've managed to pollute now Little League.
Yeah, I mean, everything.
With palace intrigue.
Yeah, and the president stepped down. This is probably about a month ago. Again, used association money to hire a private investigator about where you live, where you go to school, where you don't go to school. And it really doesn't matter. As long as you go to that school, you really don't have to live there.
All right, LeBron James and Dak Prescott both going public with their political musings this week. We're going to play them both, and then we want you to comment.
No, I never protest. I never protest during the anthem, and I don't think that's the time or the venue to do so. It's not about taking a knee. It's not necessarily about standing. We can find a different place to make our country better.
You look at all the NFL players that still kneeling and things of that nature. You look at Steph. You look at Marshawn Lynch. You look at all these instances why he's trying to divide our sport. But at the end of the day, sport is the reason why we all come together.
All right, which athlete faces the greater blowback? I know what
Dak's already got the greater blowback. It's funny when you always talk about with athletes the freedom of speech. It's only freedom if you agree with me. But if you have a whole different reason and what the anthem means to you, and it doesn't have to be racial and it doesn't have to be about injustice, just be, hey, I love this country. It's always been great to me. Whatever. I mean, you shouldn't pass judgment on those things. People have different opinions.
You want to talk about LeBron School real quick?
I love LeBron School, and you know what? I think people should take that. I mean, every national anthem, he sits up there with his hand on his heart. But, that's a show. What he's doing is amazing, and that's how you make a difference. I mean, that's literally how you make a difference. Just don't take a knee, go out and play, get in your Rolls Royce and say, it's horrible. Yeah. Build a school and change the system. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That concludes our conversation tonight on the ASR. Look at all those training camp previews. We're going to try to get to 80 in 17 days. Countdown to Season 20 of the Prep Picks Report coming your way. Make sure you tune in. The KUSI News at 5 p.m. is over. The KUSI News at 6 p.m. Lionel Hamilton is going to be on the rail in the next hour. Hope you see you then.